I would love to come on here after a game like that and be like, we are back, guys. That's what I wanted to see. Now the Chiefs are rolling. Look out, everybody. We're going to be scary. They could get hot. They could keep rolling. Obviously, they needed this game. Beating Indianapolis says a lot about their talent when they execute. And I think we've seen Indy's flaws as well. I'll talk about that in a second. The problem for me is it still looked a lot like the same old Chiefs. They were super sloppy. You had the one touchdown taken off the board by a bullshit face mask. But besides that, you saw some penalties. You saw missed opportunities. The Mahomes interception to start the game essentially gave Indy 7 points right there. That was brutal. It just seemed like this was going to be another Chiefs game where they continued to shoot themselves in the foot. Big penalties that would wipe away big plays, the turnover. They just couldn't execute in the moments, and it started to pile up, and it felt like it was going to get away from them. Somehow they claw back into it, mainly because of the defense. I mean, they did a great job holding Jonathan Taylor down, keeping him under 60 yards. I figured they would do that. Spags and this Chiefs defense usually don't let running backs have a big day on them. They're able to rein that in. And we know Daniel Jones is limited. Like, could he beat you? And the answer was no. So the defense deserves all the credit in the world because they showed up today and made a lot of stops. I think they forced 4 3-and-outs at the end of the game. When the offense just couldn't really punch it in, they'd move the ball and just couldn't score in the red zone. Kind of looked like the Chiefs from last year. You know, they'd have these drives and just couldn't capitalize on it with a touchdown. You know, if they get one touchdown, this game gets out of reach the other way because you look at the box score and it is completely lopsided. Kansas City had like 30 first downs. They had like 45 minutes on time of possession or something ridiculous. 35 minutes. They controlled the clock. It was all Kansas City. And despite that, the score was really close and Indianapolis had their opportunities. This is a huge game for Kansas City's defense. Chris Jones knew he had to play well, and he did. They were able to get pressure. Like I said, they kept Jonathan Taylor limited. If they can do more of that, that's what you want to see. They had trouble getting pressure a lot this season, especially with 4. The blitzes were working today. It just felt like the defense was maybe the most dialed in it's been all season. Does that say something about the Colts? Maybe, but to be fair, the Colts have this Colts offense has kind of run over every defense they've played. So the fact that Kansas City's defense looked this good and was able to execute in such a big moment makes me feel a lot better about that side of the ball because I thought it might kind of be the opposite. And the defense is really what ended up winning this game because they kept Indianapolis off the board. Do me a quick favor, look down and make sure you're subscribed to the channel. If you're not, hit that button and subscribe so you never miss an episode. All right, back to the video. On the offensive side for Kansas City, things to be excited about. Andy Reid committing to the run. Hunt had over 100 yards. That was awesome. They still didn't go under center a lot. They're just not going to do that. There were a lot of RPOs and shotgun inside zone calls on short yardage that I didn't like. But you notice when they commit to the run game, it changes the defense a little. And also, you stay ahead of the schedule. You know, they weren't getting into these 3rd and 15s a lot. They were staying in these manageable down and distances, and that's why they were able to move the football, drain the clock, keep the time of possession. Even though they couldn't punch it in when they got into the red zone and goal to go, they still were moving the ball effectively. And at the end of the game, when they needed to, Rashee Rice showed up and showed out. There was a portion of this game, like second quarter, third quarter, where Mahomes looked bad. Like I was genuinely worried just for how his season was going because he was making mistakes. He was, you saw Romo talk about it, even though I think he over-exaggerated it. Mahomes was kind of rushing through his progressions. He would bail out of the clean pocket too soon or move up in and try to force a throw when he had time. You started to see those bad habits that he has from time to time, from not trusting his protection or whatever, or not trusting his receivers. You started to see some of that creep in, but thankfully that went away in the fourth quarter. He made his magic, particularly once he hit that big crossing route to Rashee Rice and he took off. Then the offense felt different. The Colts like to play a lot of man, and Rice beat him. Rice is an awesome receiver. I think he's starting to get his legs back underneath him, feel comfortable. And if Mahomes and him can continue to hit on those plays, that's been one of the things the Chiefs just haven't been able to rely on. They haven't been able to just throw it to a guy and have him break off a 30-yard play. because they haven't had much of a run game. Rice had been out most of the season. It was all, whoever Mahomes threw it to, they'd catch it, and that was wherever they called it was where the play ended. So to have a guy who could actually get yards after the catch, yards after contact like Kareem Hunt was doing, that was big. I want to see them committing to the run like this moving forward. I don't think you can overstate how important that was. And that's not just against Indianapolis. I think that's against anyone. Because we saw with Denver last week, when these teams don't fear you, when they don't fear you running the football, they're not going to bite on it. Go back and watch some of the play actions last week against Denver. Patrick Mahomes is running a play action, and the linebackers are already bailing. They just don't believe that you're going to run the football. Obviously, Andy Reid was able to self-scout. He heard the uproar. He understands football better than any of us do, and he made the adjustment. So he deserves a lot of credit. This was a gutsy win. You heard a lot of talk going into this fairly about how they were 0-5 in one-score games this year. Finally, they win one of those in overtime in a big moment. If you're a Chiefs fan, which I am, what you hope is that this win is the catalyst. You hope it's the spark to have the team believe, and maybe they just put it together and go on a run here, because they really do kind of need to win out. Yeah, they can drop one game, but for me to feel like they're a real contender or a real threat, I really want them to win out. I will say, even though I am, more honest with my Chiefs conversation than I think some fans, I know no team wants to play Kansas City in the playoffs. If Kansas City is the wild card and they're going to Denver or going to Indianapolis or New England or wherever, I promise you that team's not going to want to see Patrick Mahomes in that spot. You just wonder if this maybe puts some life in Kansas City. Can they keep it going? They've got a huge game against Dallas on Thanksgiving. That's going to be a real fight, a game with big, playoff implications for both teams. I can't wait to watch that one. Kansas City just needs to keep taking care of business and keep running the football because it works. Kareem Hunt did a great job today. The defense played fantastic, and they made the plays when they needed to, despite a lot of the mistakes early. That was good. Let's see if they can keep that momentum going.